guys! Manta79 here! And welcome back to another deck profile video for Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days! Alrighty then, let's get started. Pressing the A button now. Loading game and proceeding. Here we are in the main menu, off the edit deck menu. And now in today's video, the deck profile I'm going to be making one for is a Dragon Empires, Scarlet, Flame Marshal Dragon Gandeeva, D-BT10. Alrighty, then let's get started. Selecting the deck, entering edit deck, and off we go. Here we are in the edit deck menu. And like I just mentioned before, the deck I'm building in today's deck profile video is a Dragon Empires, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon Gandeeva deck, made up of cards only available up until D-BT10. Okie dokie, let's begin. First, to the filter settings and to pack. Show only cards from D-BT1, Genesis of the 5 Greats, D-BT2, A Brush with Legends, D-BT3, Advance of Intertwined Stars, D-BT4, Awakening of Chakrabarti, D-BT5, Triumphant Return of Brave Heroes, Festival Collection 2021, Festival Collection 2022, Promo Pack number 1, D-BT6, Blazing Dragon Reborn, D-BT7, Raging Flame Against Emerald Storm, D-BT8, Minerva Rising, D-BT9, Dragon Tree Invasion, and D-BT10, Dragon Masquerade. Applying filter, filters applied, and let's get started. First, the Grade 3 lineup. And now, for the deck's Grade 3 lineup. For the Grade 3s in this deck, we are playing Ride Deck, Grade 3, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon, Gandeeva. Skills, first skill, auto as a Vanguard. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop and you may bind it face down. Second skill, continuous as a Vanguard. During your turn, all of your front row units gets plus 2,000 power for each face down card in your bind zone. If your bind zone has 5 or more face down cards, this unit gets plus 1 critical. Third skill, action as a Vanguard once per turn. Cost, Counterblast 1. If the cost is paid, choose 5 of your opponent's rear guards of different grades from each other. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Retire all of the chosen units with the same grades as the cards revealed. Shuffle your deck. If you retired 1 or less cards, draw a card, choose a card from your drop, and bind it face down. So for Gandeeva, it's the main Grade 3 to ride in this deck. Its skills, the first skill, whenever you retire an opponent's rear guard during your turn, you can bind cards in your drop zone face down. For this first skill, it combos with the second skill of Gandeeva, which is, for every face down bind zone card you can give plus 2,000 power to your entire front row, both Vanguard and rear guard included. And if with 5 or more cards face down the bind zone, you get plus 1 critical to your Vanguard. So this second skill provides not only a huge boost of power to your entire front row, but also critical to your Vanguard, giving you a huge advantage to either to pressure or finish off your opponent with. The third skill, by paying the cost, and then you can choose to potentially retire up to 5 of your opponent's rear guards. And if you can fulfill the secondary conditions of this third skill, you can also draw a card and bind cards in your drop zone face down, thus giving you not only the chance to wipe out your opponent's field of rear guards, increase your hand size, but to also combo the second skill of Gandeeva to increase the power and critical available to you. And alright, the Grade 3, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon Gandeeva. We have 4 in the deck, 1 in the ride deck, 3 in the main deck. Next up, the Grade 3, Normal Order, Best Harvest. Skill, order, choose one of your Vanguards, and until end of turn, it gets auto as a Vanguard. When your opponent's rear guards retire during your main phase, you may draw a card. So for Best Harvest, a pretty good order card to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks, especially for Gandeeva. With its effect, you can give your Vanguard a skill which allows you to draw more cards whenever you retire an opponent's rear guard during the main phase. Thus, not only do you get to take advantage of wiping out your opponent's field of rear guards, but you can also draw more cards for every rear guard retired. And okay, the grade 3 best harvest, we have 4 in the deck. Next up, the grade 3 Scarlet Flame Bow General Sturkna. Skill auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard of Gandeeva in its card name, cost Soul Blast 1 and bind one other rear guard face down. If the cost and paid, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. If you do not retire a card, draw a card and choose a card from your drop and bind it face down. So for Sturkna, it's a support card for the Gandeeva deck. With its skill, when called while the conditions of its skill are met and you pay the cost, not only do you get to wipe out your opponent's field of rear guards, but you also have the alternate option to draw more cards, bind more cards face down, and to more or less give you a better advantage to make use of Gandeeva's skill later on. And affirmative, the grade 3 Scarlet Flame Bow General Sturkna, we have 4 in the deck. Next up, the grade 3 Normal Order Gratia Gradel. Skills, first skill, continuous, Regulus piece. You may only have 1 Regulus piece in your deck and use it a total of 1 time in a fight. Second skill, order, play this if you have a grade 3 Vanguard of Persona Ride and you did not ride this turn. Activate Persona Ride, draw a card. All of your front row units gets plus 10,000 power this turn, and you are regarded to have Persona Road. So for Gratia Gradel, a pretty powerful normal order to have. With its skill, the second skill, as long as the conditions of the second skill are met and you activate this order, you can more or less activate the Persona Ride effect, which lets you draw more cards, gives your front row a 10,000 power, Vanguard and rear guard included, and to more or less establish that you have Persona Road this turn. So that way you can make use of skills that require you to also have Persona Road, despite not having done so. And confirm the grade 3 normal order Gratia Gradel, we have 1 in the deck. And with that, we just about covered the deck's grade 3 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's grade 2 lineup. And now for the grade 2 lineup. For the grade 2s in this deck, we are playing Ride Deck grade 2 Scarlet Flame Bow General D-BT10. Skill auto, when this unit is rolled upon by a unit with Gandeeva in its card name, choose one of your Vanguards, and until end of turn, the cost of that unit's original action ability is reduced by Counterblast 1. So for D-BT10, it's the main grade 2 to ride this deck. With its skill, when ridden on top of by a Gandeeva, you can then give your Vanguard an effect, which is, whenever you would activate an action ability on your Vanguard, you can reduce the cost by Counterblast 1, thus reducing the amount of Counterblast you have to pay to use your Gandeeva skill, saving up your Counterblast for other units and other skills for your later game strategy. And alright, the grade 2 Scarlet Flame Bow General D-BT10, we have 1 in the Ride deck. Next up, the grade 2 Great Flame Axe of Ambitious Scales Kalkaflan. Skills, first skill, auto. When this card is discarded from hand during your ride phase, cost Soul Blast 1 and put this card at the bottom of your deck. If the cost and paid, draw a card. Second skill, auto. When this card is placed on rearguard circle, if your Persona wrote this turn, cost Counterblast 1. If the cost and paid, retire all of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as this unit. So for Kalkaflan, it's a pretty powerful card to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks. With its skills, the first skill, when discarded for the cost during your ride phase, by paying its own cost, you can not only draw more cards, but with Kalkaflan's discard cost, you can also slightly restock your deck, thus postponing the chances of decking out. And the second skill, when called, when the conditions of the second skill are met and you pay the cost, you can wipe out your opponent's rear guards by 1 column, thus giving you a better advantage later in the game. And okie dokie, the grade 2 Great Flame Axe of Ambitious Scales Kalkaflan. We have 3 in the deck. Next up, the grade 2 Drag Ritter Alpha Car. Skill auto as a rear guard. When your Vanguard with Gandeeva in its card name attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1 and bind this unit face down. If the cost and paid, look at the top 5 cards in your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or less unit card from among them, call it to rear guard and shuffle your deck. So for Alpha card, it's a support card for the Gandeeva deck with its skill. While on the rear guard, when your Vanguard Gandeeva attacks, when the conditions of the skill are met and you pay the cost, you have the chance to replace Alpha card with a new card from your deck, thus providing you a potential front row attacker, back row booster, or a rear guard whose skill you wish to take advantage of later in the game. And affirmative, the Grade 2 Drag Ritter Alpha card. We have 4 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 2 Scarlet Flamebow General Regent. Skill Auto. When this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard of Gandeeva in its card name, cost Counterblast 1. If the cost is paid, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. If you do not retire a card, draw a card, choose a card from drop and bind it face down. So for Regent, another support card for the Gandeeva deck with its skill. When called to the rear guard while the conditions of its skill are met and you pay the cost, you have the chance to retire the opponent's rear guard, and in the off chance you fail to retire any rear guards to the skill, you can instead draw a card and bind a card face down from your drop zone. Thus, Regent is a good card to either to wipe out your opponent's field to give you a better advantage, or to restock your hand and to increase the amount of cards in your bind zone to work with Gandeeva. And confirm, the Grade 2 Scarlet Flamebow General Regent. We have 3 in the deck. And at that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 2 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's Grade 1 lineup. And now, for the Grade 1 lineup. For the Grade 1s in this deck, we are playing Ride Deck Grade 1 Scarlet Flamebow Soldier Agared. Skills. First skill, continuous as a Vanguard. If your opponent has 1 or less rear guards, when you would ride Scarlet Flamebow General D-BT10 from your ride deck, you can ride without discarding a card from hand. Second skill, Auto. When this unit is rolled upon, if your opponent has 2 or more cards, rear guards, you may call this card to the rear guard circle. So for Agared, it's the main Grade 1 to ride in this deck with its skills. The first skill, when ridden on top of by D-BT10, as long as the conditions of the first skill are met, you can choose to ride D-BT10 without paying any cards for the right deck cost, thus thereby saving the cards in your hand. And the second skill, when ridden on top of, if the conditions of the skill are met, you can also superior call Agared from the soul to the rear guard, thus giving you a potential front row attacker or back row booster to make use of. So for Agared's 2 skills, there are more or less alternate options for when you ride to Grade 2. If your opponent has no rear guards when you ride to Grade 2, you can use the first skill to avoid paying any ride deck costs. And when you will ride a Grade 2 on top of Agared, if your opponent has 2 or more rear guards, you can instead superior call Agared to your field to support you later in the game. And alright, the Grade 1 Scarlet Flamebow Soldier Agared. We have 1 in the ride deck. Next up, the Grade 1 Sparkle Rejector Dragon. Skills. First skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards of Continuous Sentinel in the deck. Second skill, Auto. When this unit is put in the Guardian Circle, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until end of battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So for Sparkle Rejector, it's a perfect guard for the Dragon Empire Nation. Like any other perfect guard in the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, it features the same skill and activation, which is, when used to guard with and discarding 1 card from hand, you can block an enemy attack. But it also features an ability unique to all perfect guards in the D standard format, which is, when used to guard with, while you have less than 2 cards in hand, you will not have to pay the usual discard 1 cost, making Sparkle Rejector Dragon a potential no-cost perfect guard in desperate last resort situations. And okay, the Grade 1 Sparkle Rejector Dragon. We have 3 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 1 Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude. Skills. First skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards with Continuous Sentinel in the deck. Second skill, Continuous. You may only have 1 Elementaria Sanctitude in the deck. Third skill, Order. If your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive, this ability can be played without paying the cost. Play this if it costs of, discard a card from hand if your Vanguard is Grade 3 or less. If the cost is paid, choose one of your units and it cannot be hit until end of battle. Remove this card. So for Elementaria Sanctitude, it's the Blitz Order version of the Perfect Guard. Like any other Perfect Guard in the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, it features the same skill and activation, which is, when played, discard 1 card from your hand, you can block an enemy attack. but ideally, Elementarius Sanctitude works best against opponents who play decks that specialize in having a Vanguard of triple drive, for example, Grade 4s, G units, or Vanguards who have their drive checks increased by skill or card effect. Against such opponents, Elementarius Sanctitude then can serve as a potential no-cost perfect guard. Affirmative, the Great One, Elementarius Sanctitude. We have 1 in the deck. And next up, the Grade 1, Scarlet Flame Bow Soldier, Buchan. Skill, auto, from the back row rear guard. When your Vanguard of Gandeeva in its card name attacks, if your bind zone has 3 or more cards, cost, bind this unit face down. If the cost is paid, countercharge 1. So for Buchan, a support card for the Gandeeva deck with skill, while on the back row, when your Vanguard Gandeeva attacks, and if the conditions of the skill are met and you pay the cost, not only do you get to refund your counterblast for later skills, but you can also stack more face-down cards to your bind zone, making it easier for you to take advantage of Gandeeva's skills later on. And alright, the Grade 1, Scarlet Flame Bow Soldier, Buchan. We have 4 in the deck. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 1 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's Grade 0 lineup. And now, for the Grade 0 lineup. For the Grade 0s in this deck, we are playing Ride Deck, Grade 0, Scarlet Flame New Soldier, Buckish. Skill, auto. When this unit is rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. So for Buckish, it's the starter unit of this deck. Like any other starting unit in the D standard format, it features the same skill and activation, which is, when ridden on top of, if you're the second to go in the game, you can draw a card. And alrighty, the Grade 0, Scarlet Flame New Soldier, Buckish, we have 1 in the Ride deck. And with that, we just about covered the Grade 0 lineup. Next, let's get on to the Trigger lineup. And now, for the deck's Trigger lineup. For the triggers in this deck, we are playing the Grade 0, Dragon DD King Resurgence, Drag Vita, Overtrigger. Skill, trigger, additional effect. Choose one of your Vanguards and restand it. So for Drag Vita, it's the Overtrigger for the Dragon Empire Nation. Like any other Overtrigger in the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, it features the same skill and activation. When revealed during a drive check or a damage check, you get 100 million power and draw a card. But he also features an ability unique to him alone. When revealed during a drive check during your turn, you can restand your Vanguard for another attack. And okie dokie, the Grade 0, Dragon DD King Resurgence, Drag Vita, Overtrigger. We have 1 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 0, Burning Flail Dragon, Critical Trigger, Skill, Auto as a rear guard. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted. Cost, put this unit into your soul. If the cost and pay, choose one of the units, and it gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. So for Burning Flail Dragon, a powerful critical trigger to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks with skill. After boosting the attack, regardless if the attack hits or not only do you get to build up your soul for later Soul Blast, but you can also give a little extra power to your remaining attackers in the field, Vanguard or rear guard. And affirmative, the Grade 0, Burning Flail Dragon, we have 4 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 0, Blaze War Monk, Sogyo, Critical Trigger, we have 4 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 0, Draw Trigger, Flarebill Dragon. Skill, continuous as a guardian. If your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield. So for Flarebill Dragon, a powerful draw trigger to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks with skill. When used to guard with while the conditions of the skill are met, your Flarebill then can serve as a potential 10,000 point shield on the zone. And alright, the Grade 0, Flarebill Dragon, draw trigger, we have 3 in the deck. Next up, the Grade 2, Stealth Fiend Amavira, heal trigger, skill, auto. When this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle, if your opponent's attacking unit has attacked 2 or more times this turn, this unit gets plus 15,000 shield until end of battle. So for Amavira, a powerful heal trigger to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks with her skill. When used to guard with while the conditions of the skill are met, you can then turn your Amavira into a potential 25,000 point shield on her own. Ideally, Amavira is a counter heal, best played against opponents who play decks that specialize in restanding their units for additional attacks, Vanguard or Rearguard. And okie dokie, the Grade 0, Stealth Fiend Amavira, heal trigger, we have 2 in the deck. And next up, the Grade 0 Cure Flare Draco Kid, Heal Trigger, Skill Auto. When this unit is put in the Guardian Circle, if the attacking unit's critical is 2 or greater, and its critical is increased by a non-trigger effect ability, or its original critical is 2 or greater, this unit gets plus 15,000 shield until end of battle. So for Cure Flare Draco Kid, another powerful heal trigger to play in your Dragon Empire Nation decks. If its skill, when used to guard with while the conditions of the skill are met, you can then turn your Cure Flare Draco Kid into a potential 25,000 point shield on his own. Ideally, Cure Flare Draco Kid is a counter heal best played against opponents who play decks that specialize in increasing their attacking unit's critical, Vanguard, or rear guard by skill or card effect. And affirmative, the Grade 0 Cure Flare Draco Kid Heal Trigger. We have 2 in the deck. And of that, we just about covered the deck's build and card effects. Next, let's get on to... And with that, the deck's been built, card effects explained. For the cards in this deck, we are playing 4 Grade 3 Best Harvest, 4 Grade 3 Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon Gandeeva, 4 Grade 3 Scarlet Flame Bow General Sturkna, 1 Grade 3 Gradia Gretel, 3 Grade 2 Great Flame Axe of Ambitious Scales Kalkaflan, 4 Grade 2 Drag Raider Alphacar, 3 Grade 2 Scarlet Flame Bow General Regent, 1 Grade 2 Scarlet Flame Bow General D-BT10, 3 Grade 1 Sparkle Rejector Dragon, 1 Grade 1 Elementaria Sanctitude, 1 Grade 1 Scarlet Flame Bow Soldier Agret, 4 Grade 1 Scarlet Flame Bow Soldier Buken, 1 Grade 0 Scarlet Flame New Soldier Buckish. Starting unit. And for the triggers in this deck, we are playing 1 Grade 0 Drag Vita over trigger, 8 critical triggers, 3 draw triggers, and 4 heal triggers. And alright, the deck's been built, card effects explained. Next we decide the deck's card sleeves, changing sleeves. So for this deck's card sleeves, first for the right deck sleeves, we're gonna be using this red Vanguard circle sleeve as the right deck sleeve. Select it. And for the main deck sleeves, we're gonna be using this Dragon Empire Nation flag sleeve as the main deck sleeve. Alrighty. So deck built, card effects explained, card sleeves decided. And now let's get up to testing out the deck, so heading over to the main menu. And here we are in the main menu, up to fight menu. Going to CPU fight, selecting the deck I just showcased, the Dragon Empires, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon Gandeeva D-Booster 10 deck. And selecting deck, choosing my opponent. I'm gonna test this deck out on who would be a good choice. How about I use it against Megumi Okura, normal difficulty, and click. The battle begins. Let's get started. Here we are in the fight. Gonna decide who goes first. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors to paper, I win going first. Drawing our starting hands, I got myself a Sturkna, a heal trigger, a Persona Ride, a Alphacar, and a Regent. Not a bad starting hand. Holding on to all normal units, redrawing triggers, redraw. Perfect guard, great redraw. Stand the Vanguard, going first, draw. I ride from the right deck, Scarlet Flame Bow Soldier, Agrid. For the right deck cost, I'm discarding a critical trigger, Sogyo. Discard and ride. That's it for my turn, end of turn, my opponent's turn. My opponent rides to grade 1, Karis, skill of starting unit, drawing a card. Going to battle phase, Vanguard, 8k. No guard, gonna take it. Here it comes, drive check. No trigger, safe, grade 3, so 1 damage. Ow! Damage check. No trigger, grade 2. And that's the end of my opponent's turn. My turn. I draw an order card. Alrighty then. Gonna ride from the right deck. Grade 2, Scarlet Flame Bow General, Deepenil. Skill of my grade 1 Agrit. I choose not to play the right deck cost and ride Deepenil. Next to the rear guards, I'm calling Alpha card to the rear guard. That should be enough for now. On to battle phase. My Vanguard attacks the Vanguard, 10k. The attack goes through. Drive check. Yes, a critical trigger. Lucky me. I'm going to give the critical to Vanguard and power to my rear guard. Critical added and power added. 2 damage to the opponent. And pierce. Damage check. Ah, draw trigger. Lucky. She draws cards and adds power. Second check. Yes, no trigger. Safe. I can still make 1 more attack. Alpha card attacks the Vanguard, 20k. The attack goes through, and slash. Damage check. No trigger, safe. And that's the end of my turn, my opponent's turn. She rides the grade 2, Lattice, grade 1 character skill, revealing Leoka from deck, and superior call. Uh-oh, that's not good. Calling Gunilzia to rear guard. Okay, a full frontal assault. I only have 1 card to guard with, so I think I'm gonna let the rear guard go through and see how the rest goes. No guard, gonna take it. Ow! Damage check. No trigger. No, not Gradia Gradel. That's a really good card. Vanguard to Vanguard. I guard for critical trigger. Over trigger to pass. 25k. Drive check. Heal trigger. She can heal. And powering rear guard, so 1 damage. But nope, the damage is nullified, and 1 damage coming from the rear guard Leoka. No guard, gonna take it. Ow! Damage check. Draw trigger, lucky! I needed that. Draw card and power up. Drew a heal trigger. Alright, then. End of my opponent's turn, my turn. Stand and draw. I ride from the right deck, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon, Gandeeva. Right deck cost, discarding the heal trigger, Cure Flare Draco Kid, and ride Gandeeva. Skill of Deepenil. I reduce Gandeeva's counterblast cost by 1 for once this turn. Next, I'm going to call. I'm first going to activate the order card, Best Harvest. For this turn, my Vanguard gets an additional ability, which is whenever an opponent's rear guards retire during the main phase, I can draw cards. Let's see, is the effect active? Yep, there's the order card's effect. Then next, I'm going to call to the rear guard, Scarlet Flame Bow General, Regent to the rear guard. Call. Regent skill, Counterblast 1. Counterblast and retire rear guard. I retire Gnozlia. And now, here comes Gandeeva's skill. First skill, draw a card. Second skill, bind a drop zone card face down. Bind. Next, I move my Regent to the back row and call to the rear guard, Sturgna. Call. Sturgna skill. Soul Blast 1. Soul Blast, retire a rear guard. I retreat my Regent. Retreating Regent, and now retiring 1 rear guard. Binding a card face down and powering up. Here comes Gandeeva's skill 1 more time. Draw a card. Draw. And here comes Gandeeva's second ability. Bind a card face down. Bind. And now activating Gandeeva's skill, Counterblast 1, but no need to activate any Counterblast this time. Revealing the top 5 cards of my deck, nothing to retire. So I'm gonna draw a card and bind a card face down. Bind. That should be enough for now. No, hold on. I'm calling Burning Flail to the rear guard, and that's enough. Going to battle phase. My Vanguard attacks the Vanguard, 21k. The attack goes through. Twin Drive, first check. Alright, a critical trigger. I give the critical to Vanguard and power to Storkna. Critical up. Power up. And second check. No trigger. So that's 2 damage to my opponent. And boom! Damage check first. No trigger, perfect guard, safe. 1 less card to worry about. Second check. No trigger, Gandeeva, safe. Another 1 less card to worry about. Boosted by Burning Flail Dragon. Alpha card attacks the Vanguard, 22k. Guarding with heal trigger, 25k, attack blocked. No worries, I got 1 more attack. But before that, I'm activating my Burning Flail skill. Into Soul, should I use... Nope, I have no other great ones in my hand yet. I'm just gonna leave the Burning Flail on the rear guard for now. Just gonna go straight for the attack with Storkna, 31k. The attack goes through, and Pierce. Damage check. No trigger, safe. 1 less card to worry about. And that's the end of my turn. Now it's my opponent's turn. Riding the Grade 3. Sylvanhorn Beast, King Magnolia. Skill of Lattice, and... Yes, a heal trigger out of the deck. Superior call, lucky me. Calling Gandeeva and Daimainaru to rear guard. Daimainaru's skill. Powering up the heal trigger, Ziatarog in the back row. And calling another rear guard, Gabrek. Vanguard to Vanguard. 23k, alright. No guard, gonna take it. Twin Drive, first check. Ah, front trigger, lucky. Power to the entire front row. Second check. Ah, double trigger, draw trigger, hand restocking, more power. Ah, it's really good luck for her. Here comes 1 damage. Ow! Damage check. No trigger, perfect guard, not good. Magnolia skill, giving a rear guard in the back row the ability to attack from the back row, powering up as well. Gandeeva attacks the Vanguard. Skill, giving a unit in the same column the power. And Gandeeva's skill again. Sharing more power. Oh, that's rough. 15k, 5k to block, so... Gonna guard with the critical trigger, Sogil, guard. That's 28k, attack blocked. And... Kachink, safe. 45k from that rear guard. I can't guard any cards with the same grade as a... Wait, I cannot call same as from hand, so... Ah, no, I have a grade 0, so I cannot guard this attack. No choice, gotta take it. No guard. Ow! Damage check. Yes, a heal trigger. I give power to my Vanguard, but cannot heal. Powering up. The remaining rear guard, Daimainaru, 30k to Vanguard. I guard a critical trigger. Guard, 38k. Attack blocked, and... Kachink, safe. That was a close one. End of my opponent's turn. My turn. Stand and draw. I Persona Ride, Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon, Gandeeva. Let's do this. Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon, Gandeeva. Persona Ride. Power up and draw a card. Then I'm going to... what should I do? First, I'm going to... call a Storkna to the back row. Storkna skill, Soul Blast 1, Soul Blast. Retire a rear guard in the same column. I'm retreating the front row Storkna. And activating skill. Bind a rear guard and retire a rear guard. I'm retiring Gandeeva. With 5 more cards in the face down the bind zone, my Vanguard gets +1 critical. Gandeeva skill, binding more cards. And bind. And then I'm going to call Alpha card to the rear guard. Call. And then I'm going to activate Gandeeva's skill. Counter Blast 1, Counter Blast. I choose a number of rear guards, choosing Grade 2 and Grade 0. And revealing Grade 1, Grade 2. So only one rear guard is retired. And draw a card and bind a card face down. I drew a Counter Charger, not bad. Then Gandeeva skill, bind another card face down. Bind, more power to my front row. And I'm going to, call to the rear guard. Bukin to the rear guard over here. And go into the battle phase. First, my right side Alpha car unboosted attacks the Vanguard, 36k. He double guards for 38k. The attack is blocked. No worries, I can still keep going. One more time, Alpha car on the left side attacks the Vanguard, 36k. He guards with a front trigger, intercepts, and 38k again. The attack is blocked. He's really getting in there. Now, boosted by Bukin, Gandeeva attacks the Vanguard, 47k. And activating my 2 Alpha cars in the front row, Counter Blast 1, and bind Alpha car. Replacing it with a card from deck, I choose to replace it with, what do I have? Yes, I got a Sturkna. I choose to call Sturkna. Call. Power up, Sturkna skill, Soul Blast 1, Soul Blast, retire the Sturkna in the back row, and retire a rear guard, and bind. Nice. Then continue with Gandeeva skill, binding more cards in the drop zone, and bind. Powering up, and one more time with Alpha Car, Counter Blast 1, self-binding, and Superior call a card from my deck. And what do I have? I got myself another Sturkna. Calling Sturkna. Call. Not gonna activate either of these 2 skills. 55k, 2 crits. The attack goes through. Twin drive. First check. No trigger. And second check. Yes, a heal trigger. But yes, I can heal. Healing 1. Giving power to the left side Sturkna. Healing and power up. 2 damage to the opponent. And boom! Damage check first. Yes, draw trigger, 6 damage. Cannot heal. Trigger effect wasted and winner me. That was a pretty good match. I got to try out the cards in this deck pretty well and made it work pretty okay for me. So I got win, attack 50,000 more power, did a Persona Ride, 6 turns passed, did a Superior Call, retired 5 or more opposing units, and bound 5 or more cards, drew 3 or more times in 1 turn. Got 2100 VP, total 33,875 VP. Pressing A to go next, leaving the fight and returning to the fight menu. Here we are in the fight menu, leaving fight menu, going back to the main menu. Back in the main menu, up to edit deck menu. With that, the deck has been built, card effects explained, and I just more or less tested out the deck in front of you. And that's pretty much it. With that, that's about the time we have for today. First I want to say is, thank you to the viewers for watching today's video, and to please stay tuned for more videos I plan to upload again in the near future. I also hope you all show support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to my videos and channel. And with that I say, goodbye and see you all.